Alright, I already split a few pieces, and seems to split pretty decently on these smaller pieces. We'll try this one out. This one's got a little bit of a knot and is fairly large. This might be a little bit much for a little 20-inch hatchet, but we'll see what you can do. As you can see, put a decent crack in it. See if we can hit more center. Yep. I imagine if I swung a little bit harder and was a little bit more accurate, I could have gotten that in one. Try something else. This is some straight grain pine. So obviously, I imagine one swing with this. Oh yeah, that just popped real easily. Got two more pieces here, right off the bat. This one I believe had some sort of a knot in it, because you can see the grain is a little bit wonky there, but there we go. Split that one all right as well. This one might be more of a challenge. This one's got a knot at the bottom. As you can see, that's about the size of it. But one thing I'm thinking with this is obviously I'm probably not going to be splitting, you know, whole size knotted elm with this, but I imagine this would be good for around the camp because it seems to split pretty decently. Obviously, if you can't split it with this, you probably want to use like a regular axe, but I'm surprised at the size logs this is taking on with ease. None of them are too terribly twisted or anything like that, but still pretty good for a hatchet. Yep, split it all right. Let's put the knot up, see what happens then. Typically you want to put the knot down because it's easier to split, but and it split it just fine. And as you guys saw, some of those were decent size, typically not what you'd think of splitting when you think of a hatchet. But as I said, 2-pound head, 20-inch handle. And the profile, not bad. I'm sure you might have, fatter profile might split a little bit better, but not speaking too well today, but I imagine this is a good compromise between chopping and splitting. I imagine you could probably, thin this bevel out a little bit more if you wanted it chopped pretty well. I haven't tried chopping with it yet, but we'll probably get to that. I'm going to grab a few more pieces. Now this supposed to have been saying that these logs will challenge them, and none of them really have yet, but this one, pretty substantial, got a pretty substantial knot in that. So we'll see what it does. Oh yeah. I probably could continue whacking at that. I'll give it one more hit, but that was a solid stop. That wasn't a halfway penetrate. That was a penetrated, but that was a stop. Definitely probably too much for this, but might get it. Yep. Obviously, you can see how big of a knot that is. You're not going to probably split this much further with the hatchet, but took a chunk out of it. Here's this piece here. This piece is kind of rotten and dried up. Oh yeah, a bunch of knots at the bottom. Yeah, should have attacked from the top where there weren't any knots, but took care of it. Here's another one, as you can see. Still decent round, but pretty straight grain. Don't think this will be much of a problem. Yeah. See if I can show you guys a little pile of wood that we got split there. Decent amount. So as I said, I think this is really nice. I wasn't originally a fan of this size when I was using a Marvel's outdoor axe, but I really like it because I think this is a good splitter. Obviously, you know, I didn't try and split any like 12-inch elm rounds, and you wouldn't split that with anything this size. You'd want like a maul, especially you're talking about elm. But like I said, I feel like if you had a little bit more, I want to say unrefined pieces. If you're splitting kindling, that's one thing, but if you have, you know, rounds that are split in half that you want to break down further, you know, if it's not something too gnarly, if it's fairly straight grained, or even a knot or two, and it's nothing, you know, too crazy like elm, I think this would work just fine. Really impressed with the performance. I also think what this is good for would be to keeping a foliage belt and aluminum axe sheath. So, yeah, I wanted to show you guys that in the first impressions video, but I forgot about it. Alright, so how exactly did it perform? Well, a lot of the rounds that I was splitting was this oak, which is not the hardest wood to split, but it's not the easiest either. So I was pretty impressed because obviously I was taking on some decent sized pieces. In fact, this isn't even what I was splitting. This is I already split this piece. This, you know, this is half of a piece that I split. So taking on some pretty big pieces of oak with the hatchet. Some of them even had a knot or two. Very impressed with it. What I'm not impressed with is that the handle is loose. And I kind of expected that because I've owned a Prandi before. This one came loose first time I tried it, and this is my favorite hatchet, but the handle came loose. And I was able to pound another metal wedge in there and tighten it up, but the head was not seated all the way on the handle, and there was and still is a little bit of a gap there. And they didn't even pound the wooden wedge in all the way, so very bad hang by Prandi. I don't know how they even, because I love the heads and I like the handles, absolutely love the heads, like the handles, but the hang, they just can't seem to get it right. And I bought this knowing that I was gonna have to rehang it, so I guess that's not that big of an issue, because I can always, you know, rehang it, pound another wedge in. But as you can see there, pretty big gap, like very, very bad gap. And it's building up a ledge, which you don't want. So that's gonna have to either I'm gonna have to take the head off or cut that off with the razor blade, and I might have to, you know, remove the metal wedge and wooden wedge, re-wedge it, or even just pound a, you know, a regular flat wedge into it. So yeah, not the best, but in my opinion it was still worth it, because rehanging an axe isn't that hard, or just pounding a wedge into it, it can be done. Thank you all for watching the video. God bless, and see you on the next one.